I'm Karen, the Weekend Craftaholic, and today I wanted to walk you through my inventory planner. So this is a mix of craft and sewing, although it is predominantly craft. And what I've done is repurpose an old Kiki K planner. So this is one that I actually got last Christmas. It is a personal size one, so unfortunately it was a little bit too small for me. This is just a quick snapshot of my craft planner, so this is a completely different thing. This is what I use for my monthly projects, keeping a track of projects I've done. So not to be confused with the craft planner, this is more really just about inventory, what I've got in the stash. Really useful to take out and about with me to the shops or at the computer when I'm shopping online, just to make sure I don't buy two of the same things. And also I've got a wish list at the front, so it's good to keep an eye on things that I need to get. It's also good if you spot a bag in and you want to make sure that you've not already got it. So a lot of these colour charts in here are really useful for that, because it's hard to keep track on what you've got and what you haven't got. So these are some old dividers that I made and just repurposed them. So you see I've sorted it in sections of colour, paper, impressions, embellishments, and then a very small section on tools, and then very lastly sewing, which there's not an awful lot on that. So I'll talk you through each section, and you can see it's not a very thick one, so you might think, oh, you don't want to take it to the shops with you, but if you're going out especially for craft stuff, I would definitely recommend this. So this first section on colour, you can see there the way I've categorised it. This really is just in relation to anything that I use to colour my projects. And I found this nice little colour chart on Pinterest, which I'm using. I've got a few of those separated out, so I can separate out some swatches of pigment ink, dyes ink, chalk inks, Versamax, that kind of stuff. So you can see I don't have a huge stash of these things, which is why for me starting an inventory this year has been really good. I can imagine if you've got a huge pile of products, it will be hard to do this once you're in. But for me, this is really great. Having swatches of ink allows you really to see what they're going to look like before you use them in the products. The other one that you probably are familiar with if you've been crafting for a while is the distress inks. These have got to be one of my favourites. Now you can see this chart's huge, but not a problem in this personal planner. Just fold it up. Doesn't matter that it runs through on the back. I have stamped some of these twice just so I can see the effect if I double stamp, and gives me a darker colour, which is again really useful. But you can see it folds up quite nice, and I think because this is a zipped one as well, it keeps it nice and enclosed. Now liquid pearls, again, this was something that was direct on the manufacturer's site. You'll see lots of these places have them, and it's a great way again of seeing what it looks like when the product's being used. I've used this chart as well just for embossing powder, so I've got a couple of these, one for my Ranger and one for my Zing. Again, not too many, so it's nice and easy to put on there. Now what I've done with my foils, because you'll have seen very quickly then that I have got photographs in here, but obviously you can see here that the photograph of the foils doesn't really tell you the colour very well, so I do list the names as well on there. And I'm just going to go back now to the colour chart, and you can see where I've used the little liquid pearls is where I've actually completed the sections as well. So now I'm up to the section on mists. I've just done it by brand and then by colour as well, and then same again for perfect pearls. But what I did do is take photographs of everything in my craft room. I do love looking at things on my pegboard. They're only 5 cents each to print off, and it's a nice quick and easy way of getting an inventory done before if you can't be bothered writing everything out. Like I say, just with some stuff with the colours, you probably would want to write it out as well. And again, the Faber-Castell, I don't have a lot of these, but I've just highlighted the ones I do have, and the distress markers as well. This is one you'll find pretty easily online as well and print off. And you can see what I've done here. I've actually done the both ends of the pen, whether it's the brush end or the fine tip. I think a lot of people run into the same problem where the fine tips tend to dry out a little bit quicker than the brush end. I do store them horizontally as advised, but for some reason they still dry out a lot quicker. Now the other thing I've done here, you can see I've made a little note here of I need more of the sea breeze colour. I do usually keep these at the front, but I've just put them in the middle sections just to show you another way that you can use this inventory. And again, I use that same colour chart here just to make a note of watercolours that I've got as well. Now moving on to the paper section, Again, I've got a few sections on here now. I've not actually catalogued anything in my 12 by 12. I'm trying to get rid of them. I've got far too many of them, so I'm just trying to use them up really rather than keep a track on them. But I have printed off, as you can see, some pictures of the other pads. Now, when I do buy more, it's easy enough to write on the back of the photographs. I don't think it's a bit of a waste, as long as you've got some kind of reference. And the great thing about taking photographs is if you are in store, you can zoom in and open the pictures. I keep them in a craft album on my iPhone. So this next section, probably labelled wrong, cardstock. It's not actually cardstock because, again, I'm not going to write down all of the stock that I've got. The idea is to use some of these products, not just keep them as stash. So this is actually just in reference to blank cards where I know I've got matching envelope packs, and I've got them by size and colour. Now, I've realised here that I've actually missed a section at the front, which is that speciality paper. So where I've got things like watercolour paper, the blending paper, the vellum and so on, I have just quickly wrote those down, because sometimes you do come across extra ones in the craft store, or as I'm just showing here, you can make notes as well if you need to buy more stock. Now this impressions category or section, if you like, this is really where I'm thinking more of how I can not embellish, but make some kind of difference to my project. So I've called them impressions because I couldn't think of another way to categorise them. I am getting a big shot for Christmas, very excited, so I've started a new category for dies and I'm starting to build up. But at the moment I only have a diamond press, which is why I've got lots of small dies at the moment. I do, however, have a heap of stamps, as you can see. Depending on how you want to categorise them, I have got lawn fawn separately because I do have the majority of coordinating dies for these. So I've kept them on a single sheet. But for my remaining stamps, I have just categorised them in the way that I've stored them in my craft room, which is, I guess, by genre, if you like, whether it's an animal or an alpha. Again, the other thing that's great about an inventory, you can easily also make a little quick note of if you've lent any of your products to someone, so you don't forget about them. But yeah, just moving on here, you can see the way I've categorised them. Now, I will quickly mention actually Christmas. I don't have any of my Christmas stash in this planner, mainly because I have a separate Christmas planner. It's for my December daily, or my planning, the foods, Christmas cards and so on, but I also keep a track of my Christmas crafts in there as well. So that again is another, I am a planner addict, self-confessed planner addict, so that is another way to keep those separately. And I don't buy them while I'm out shopping generally, so I don't need to keep that on hand. I've got far too much Christmas stuff. Now, the roller stamps is something, I don't know why I keep buying these, I just love them, but it's probably the child in me. But you can see here, I've just stamped out what's on each of the different roller balls, and I've just made I put a number on each of them so I know which is which, because without actually stamping them out, you don't know, you forget what's on them. And because I don't have a big shot, I don't have an awful lot of these embossing pads or sheets, so that's something else I'll need to start collecting in future, yay. And I use my stencils, so again, just listing them by brand and by size. Pinches, I again don't use these an awful lot, probably something I started with back in the day. But if you go to craft planner meetups, that kind of stuff, it's good to have these because other people might want you to take them along the next time and show your stuff out. So moving on to embellishments, this is another really tricky one. You can see I've not actually made a mark against alphas, puffy stickers, sentiments and bling and tags, because these are things I want to use all the time. I do have a different way of storing them, so if you're interested in seeing that, I can do another video on that. But these are the, I guess, included in here are the basics. And when I'm out and about and I see a bag and I just want to make sure I'm not buying something I've already got. Washi, for example, I'm trying to get out of buying more washi. I think I've got plenty washi tape, and this is just a quick look at what glossy accents and things that I've got. So that's the embellishments, that's the bit about crafting I love. There's an awful lot of those, but it'd be too much to document, and once you've used them, they're gone. Tools is a very quick one as well. I guess I've just put this in for the sake of completeness, or, you know, God forbid there was a fire, at least I know what I had. At the back I've just listed adhesives that I use. Again, great for if you're running out, you can quickly put a little note on. Like I say, the tools are the main things that I'm not going to get used up. And that's it for the craft. So moving on to sewing. Again, don't have an awful lot of sewing stuff. You don't need a lot of sewing stuff, which is great. But I did want to document these somewhere as well. So you can see I've got a lot of a lot more on this contents page. And again, you know, who could write down every single colour of thread they've got? So photographs are so easy for this and being able to quickly see it. Now patterns are a different thing. I do have an app on my phone, so I've got heaps and heaps of patterns, and I'm not going to write all those out. Elastics though, I've separated those out between white and black, and I've just listed down the size, and you can see on those white ones I've got some multiple packs. That's me making mistakes in the store, feeling like I've not got it when I do. So hence the reason I've got the inventory now. So I've skipped over the ribbons, you'll see, and then needles here. So these are my sewing needles, and again the quantities, and then moving on to knitting needles, you'll see I've got 3 lots of the 7mm, which is just crazy, and then the crochet needles. So this has come in handy since I've started using it to stop those duplicate purchases. I love my cross stitching as well, and embroidery, so you can see again it's been much easier just to photograph the ones that I've got. I know it's not always perfect with the colouring, but it gives you a good idea. These are just some random tools that I have as well, and then I actually bought this pack of sewing feet off eBay, so it's great. I just took a picture of the cover because that's all the feet in one go, and then obviously the walking foot as well that I have separately. I've just wrote that on the back. So I always use the back of the photos as well. I don't think it's a waste. A few buttons as well for you to see, and then my rulers as well. And again, this is really great because I've made the mistake, you can see, buying duplicate things, and this is more for my quilting, and you see the hem rulers as well. I love the quilting. Now I've not bought books for a long time, so it's again pretty easy to take a picture, probably more in there in case anyone wants to loan them when I'm out and about, but yeah, not something I would probably buy anymore now. There's so much inspiration online. But I've got a record of all the zips that I have, by colour and size, and again binding by colour and size, because you see I made a mistake there with the black 12mm, buying 2 lots. And then lastly also I've just made a note of the fabric pens that I do have. This little pad came with the planner, so it's never really moved from there actually, and I've got my nice little pen to go with. And that's it really. That is my inventory planner. So I hope I've given you some ideas. It is always tricky to think about how to categorise them, but I've looked at a few other videos online and got inspiration, so you've got to make it work for you. So thank you for watching all the way through to the end, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you.